Rumpelstiltskin. Once there was a miller who had a beautiful daughter. He was poor, so he couldn't pay his taxes, and when the king threatened to put him in prison, the miller in desperation said, "I have a daughter who can spin gold out of straw." "Then bring her to me," ordered the king. The frightened girl was led to a room which was filled with huge piles of straw. "Spin all of this into gold before morning, or you will be punished," ordered the king. The girl pleaded to be excused, for she knew that she could not do it, but it was of no use. The door was locked, and she sat there alone and wept. Shortly the door opened, and in walked a little man. "Why are you sad?" he said. "The king has ordered me to spin all this straw into gold, and I cannot." "What will you give me if I do it for you?" said the man. The girl gave him her necklace, and he sat down to work spinning the straw into fine gold. By morning he was finished. The king was delighted with what he saw, but he wanted more, so he took the miller's daughter to a large room filled with more straw and told her to spin it into gold by the next morning. Again she wept. Soon the little man came in and said, "What will you give me if I do this for you?" She gave him her gold ring, and he worked until morning, when the task was complete. Still, the king wanted more gold, so the next evening he took the girl to an even larger room filled to the rafters with straw. He said, "If you do this, you will be my wife." The little man came in as before and asked, "What will you give me if I spin this into gold for you?" The poor girl despaired, for she had nothing left to give. "Then promise me," said the little man, "your first child when you are queen." The miller's daughter could only agree, though she hoped she would never have to keep her promise. Once again, the little man spun a huge pile of gold, and not a piece of straw was left. In the morning, the king found all he wanted, and the miller's daughter became his queen. A year passed, and the queen gave birth to a lovely daughter, and she was so happy that she forgot about the little man, until one day he appeared to remind her of her promise. She offered him all the treasure of the kingdom, but he refused. She cried and cried because she could not bear to part with her darling baby. The little man finally said, "Very well, I will give you 3 days, and if in that time you can guess my name, then you may keep the child." The queen stayed up all night thinking of the names she had never heard and writing them down in a long list. The next day, the little man came to her room, and she began to work through the list. Peter, John, Mark, Isaac, Thomas, Henry, Jeremiah. But with every name, she received the same reply: "No, that's not my name." On the second day, she tried all the strangest names that she has heard of, and even some that she made up herself, but the little man laughed and said, "You will never guess." In despair, the queen sent out all her servants to search throughout the kingdom to see if they could discover any other names. But all but one of them returned with none. But late in the evening, the remaining servant was making his way back to the castle. He heard a little man singing in the woods. The faithful servant told of his fortunate discovery, and when on the 3rd day of her visitor arrived, the queen asked, "Is your name William?" "No." "Is it Charles?" "No." "Could it possibly be Rumpelstiltskin?" "Who told you that? Who told you that?" cried the little man, and he shook his fists and stamped his feet so hard that he made a hole in the floor and fell right into it. Moaning and groaning, he pulled himself out and ran away. The queen lived happily ever after with the king and her daughter, and was never to be bothered by Rumpelstiltskin again.